How do I spend my time not dancing? When I'm not dancing, I'm always dancing, but just in different capacities. Just in different capacities, I'm always dancing. My name is Nicole Andrea Pemberton. I have been in and out of DJD for quite a while since I've moved to Calgary. I have mostly been a teacher for the evening classes, doing various styles, and did some training when I first moved to Calgary, and DJD has been a part of my life since young, whether it was watching productions on stage, being able to first go through the doors of DJD at the 4th Street location and just be able to soak in the mecca that has been created here, and to be in the studio and to be in the space of the teachers, of the company members, of the dancers, and of the team that really has spearheaded a movement and a culture that has grown in Calgary and really is spreading across Canada. It's been quite an honor to be in this space as a teacher, and now bringing others to this space, working with Wezo Africa, with the dancers and the international teachers that come through, and also as an artistic director for Footprints Dance Project, and bringing the younger dancers to get an exposure of a professional art setting, of what is possible for them if they pursue their career in the arts, in dance or any other capacity. When I first got into the world of dance, it's from birth. It's from birth, really, because my background, my cultural background, is from Antigua, Barbuda, St. Kitts and Nevis. So that's my foundation, and those Caribbean islands infused from my parents and my lineage beyond. You know, it's very steeped in music, in music, in dance, in community circles, rituals, all the things, and it's embedded in life. So that has been my foundation with dance socially. On the professional realm, my exposure has been through theater. I've been very fortunate that my parents took us to theater, and so we saw multiple productions and going out into festivals, really getting a well-rounded exposure to the arts. And the catalyst for me that really sparked my attention of what is this I'm in, is when I saw a production. My parents recorded a PBS production called Black Dance America, and it showcased Garth Fagan Dance Company, Alvin Ailey American Dance Company, Catherine Dunham's work, Chuck Davis African Dance Theater, contemporary dancers, break dancers, and jazz, and the Lindy Hop. That was the first time I saw Lindy Hop, and some of the background footage from Harlem in New York. And I must have watched that video at least 10 times when we were watching it on VHS. And I was like, what is this? I still have that video. I don't have a VHS player anymore, but I still have the video. That recording and that production really just opened my eyes and my interest into an art that I wanted to know more. I felt my whole body just being ignited and come alive. And I must have watched that video, hundreds of times, and I still see something beautiful, and I still see something that makes me go, wow, that really was the catalyst for me, and then I just wanted to know more. Okay, so there's two. And besides the fact of performing on multiple different stages and then going to share this with younger generations, people have discussions with my peers, and really see the evolution for me, of how I can take it further in different spaces. The two of the most impactful moments for me is, one is how the audience reacts to art, to dance, how we're able to tell stories and experience and really impact the audience from a soul level, from a heart level, to engage conversations, to really impact people in a way so they're thinking about things that maybe they haven't thought of in a new perspective. And as artists, we don't really know the impact of our work until we hear from somebody who has seen it. And the responses sometimes really make you think, wow. As an artist, we create work. And we create it from a space of inspiration of what is alive and present at the time. And we never really truly understand how our art can actually save lives. They can actually spearhead a movement. They can actually broaden a bigger conversation that impacts change, or just brings joy and delight in the space of everything that is going on. So that's one. Number two, personally for me, is when I was dancing on stage in Toronto. I was dancing with a professional company in Toronto, and I got a call from my cousin during intermission, and she said, "Everything's okay, but just call me as soon as you're done the show." So I got this voice message saying, "Everything's okay, call me after the show." And I'm like, why did you send me this message while I'm performing, right? And then in my mind, I'm immediately thinking, what's wrong? And so I try to put it out of my head. And then we do the show. It was one of my most spirited and very tough shows, because it required a lot of energy. And at the end, we get the applause. And then we take our bow, everybody's applause, everything's good. And then I see some people jump out at me on the corner of my eye, and I just see this, and I see people jumping, and I'm looking around, and I'm just like, wow, those people are really excited over there, you know? I said that to a fellow dancer beside me. I said, look at over there, they really enjoy the show. And then I look a little closer, I see my cousin. So I'm like, oh, wow, awesome. She came and saw the show. It's amazing. And then I look a little closer because I notice she's not alone. I look a little closer, and I see beside her are my mom and dad. My mom and dad have never seen me perform in Toronto when I was dancing. When I left home, quite decisively, I left home because I said I was going to pursue my career in dance. And that was the first time they seen me away from home on the professional stage. They didn't tell me they were gonna be there. And my dad thought he was slick. He called me a couple days before and asked me, so what time is your show? What time is your show? Oh, what day is your show? Oh, okay, well, good luck and everything and all that. And to see them, you know, really just over the moon excited. I squeezed my my friend's hand, and she's like, I'm standing there, I'm bawling, and I just start to lose it. And she's like, what's wrong with, why are you squeezing my hand? And I said, my parents are here. And so everybody got wind of it, and they're like, oh my gosh, and they started waving to them. So I ran to the change room. I couldn't change any faster. I changed my clothes. I went out to the lobby. I literally bolted. My dad is the first person I saw. I bolted, and you know when those bear hugs when kids come and they just go, oh, that's what I did. And he just held me, and he's just like, wow, good job. And we just had a conversation. My mom comes. So that was the second moment. That was like, wow. You know, that was really, I will never forget that moment. That was really impactful for me. The first person who really caught my attention, when I started looking at dance, especially from the commercial or media point of view, was Debbie Allen. Because I started seeing her name on, I like to read programs, and so I would look, you know, especially in the credits when they would show like the Academy Awards and award shows and things like that, and I kept seeing Debbie Allen's name. And I was like, okay, what is a choreographer? And I want to do that, right? And then I would see her in Fame and some of the other things, and when I heard her talk, I was like, she was the first person I think I started looking up to and being inspired by. I was very much inspired by, I am inspired by Alvin Ailey, the American Dance Company. But really and truly, I'm inspired by all dancers. There's really, if I was to really pinpoint who right now, or even during my process, I get, if it's something, or if I watch something or someone that really pulls me from here, then I'm in. I want to know more. I want to have a conversation with them, right? So there was no really one person. I'm privileged enough, even when I was in Alberta, when I was in high school and I started to do dance in college, you know, I started to hear of Michelle Moss, and then later on when I came back here, I felt privileged enough to have conversations with her. I felt privileged to have conversations with Chuck Davis when I went to the International Black Dance Conference years ago. I was privileged enough to have conversations with Ronald K. Brown, who was the first person who I saw integrated house and African dance and contemporary in such a way that made me, I was in my seat going, what is this? I was privileged enough to have conversations with various contemporary dancers that really I could identify and move and feel moved by contemporary dance, because as we know, contemporary is it's very broad. And I'm privileged enough to learn from or have conversation, for example, with Santi Smith when we did an arts residency in Trinidad and Tobago. I'm privileged enough to, when I travel, I get to go to different places and have been able to ask different master teachers from different regions and ask about the indigenous culture and the spiritual practices and how they influence dance, the evolution of contemporary or hip hop or any other dance that is out there. So in terms of inspiration, artists inspire me. When Ways of Africa had their July Dance Intensive at Decidedly Jazz, an artist by the name of Brother E, we had a conversation, and he said, when you're around artists, you have no choice but to be inspired. So when I think of like who inspires me, if there one person or three, it's not really, I can't really pinpoint it because they all inspire me, right? The conversations, the movements, the way people think or approach things, it's like, I want to know more. And I just want to be in the room. That is the privilege of this artistry that we're in. DJD is going to be my home this summer. The current projects that I'm working on, as I mentioned, I'm working with, I'm in collaboration with Wezo Africa, and we're bringing 5 international artists for a July dance intensive, and this is the second year that we're doing this, and diving in deeper into different Black cultural dance practices from various parts of Africa and the Caribbean, and influences that have been weaved in through North America, and we're so privileged and honored that we're able to do this, and we're bringing close to 50, 60 dancers to come in and study and train and have dialogue and with these master teachers, but also be in a space where they can have dialogue and conversations and build relationships with themselves. The community building is probably the most impactful piece of what these dancers see, feel, touch, hear, and experience. And I couldn't imagine a better space in Calgary than to have this intensive here. So that's number one. Number two, I am the artistic director of Footprints Dance Project. It's a nonprofit organization that offers scholarship-based programming to youth who are really passionate about arts and dance, but need a safe space to do that. So we organize a 3-week intensive where we bring different artists from Calgary to train with the dancers. So they get to experience various different dance styles and also really create confidence in themselves through working on spoken word. And for example, we have Wakefield Brewster, who has been a pillar in performance literacy in Calgary and across Canada, and we're so happy to have him here. So artists like that are coming through for this fully funded program. So that's what we got going on, and I'm bringing it here in August 2023. And so that's really exciting because we just had a conversation about accessibility, right? How can we make dance accessible? How can we make the arts accessible? Because for a lot of people, their bubble or their space can only allow certain exposure. So when we bring people to really be in a space where they can be exposed by the brilliance and the magnetism and the excellence of artistry, in a space where they can really discover that in the environment, but also in themselves, is really important. And they get to do that with other like-minded individuals, and the relationships that they build is really priceless. So I'm excited to bring the kids for the Summer Dance Intensive from Footprints Dance Project here at Decidedly Jazz. How do I spend my time not dancing? When I'm not dancing, I'm always dancing, but just in different capacities. Just in different capacities, I'm always dancing. I I also have my own company where I provide sessions and workshops and retreats to really bring the artistry of dance in a healing space. That's one of the things that really, as the deeper I go into dance and in movement and using it as a healing practice, it opens up so many doors and so many avenues where people can expand and grow. So I have a company that does that, and so I do some of that. When it's not when I'm not dancing, like I said, I'm always am. If I'm completely away from quote unquote work, I love being outside. That's my safe haven. That's my space where I can just completely decompress. And so I've just discovered, I was at a photo shoot yesterday, and I just discovered Big Hill Springs National Park. Gorgeous, just the waterfalls and the trees. And so I love to be out in nature. I love to be out in the trees, by the water, and to really be surrounded by the beauty that is untouched, and to really just ground in, and to just be. Really, and to take in that either by myself or, with my inner circle, bring some music and some food and just chill out. What piece of advice would I give? Be open. Be open and go with what inspires you. That would be the first step. What inspires you in terms of movement, or whether it's the music, or the community, or maybe culturally. We sometimes forget that socially we dance all the time, and we don't think about it. And we tend to put it in a box or in a certain place where you have to be or do a certain thing or be at a certain status. And we do this whether you think about it. You do this whether you think about it or not. And so the place of being open is to not put those narratives or conditionings on yourself that may say you can't, but to open to the possibility of exploration, the possibility of curiosity, the possibility of the inspiration that draws you in the first place, and allow that to guide you. So that, for me, that's what it means to be open when you approach dance. So whether it's through your cultural background, or something you see on TV, or something you see in the theater, allow that to be your inspiration to step into something that has the possibility of opening you up to even more of your vitality, your joy, deep discovery, healing, or just an insatiable hunger to learn. I'd say start by being open, and then allow yourself to go from there. Yeah.
So good. I love all of it. Thank you so much. That was perfect.
You're so